Hi, I'm Rachel Thomas Medwid. I'm here at the 43rd Broadcast Conference for Meteorology, and I'm here with Gina Esco, who used to work with us at AMS in the policy program in DC, and she's now with the Eastern Research Group. So it's nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you. Happy to be back.
Happy to see you. So Gina's going to give a presentation on results from a survey on hazard simplification. So I understand you conducted this survey at the last AMS annual meeting in Phoenix.
That's correct.
That's right. And so can you talk a little bit about how you collected the data and a little bit about the results?
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be back with the AMS family. So the AMS annual meeting is a really great venue to get feedback from the weather community, but it's also kind of a fun way to get some public feedback too, because AMS hosts this wonderful Weather Fest, which, as you know, is open to the public. They do a lot of research, and so what we did, Eastern Research Group is working with the National Weather Service. Eli Jacks there is the lead person on this project, on the Hazard Simplification Project, and essentially what it is we're evaluating whether or not our weather watch warning advisory system is effectively communicating risks and impacts to the general public, whoever that general public is, because as you know, it's a big group of people.
Right.
So what we did is we created a survey, a short survey, from a social science point of view, perhaps not the most rigorous, so I'll slap myself on the wrist for that just a little bit. It was the best we could do with short notice. We made a few different prototypes of what our warning system could look like under a different structure, different colors, different words, perhaps a slightly different design. We put that in a survey and we put it on iPads. Actually, we used some new technology, and we set up a booth at WeatherFest and at the AMS exhibit hall. And at WeatherFest, we let the adults take the iPads, and then for children, actually, we had this really fun weather memory game where they had to match two cards, and we had them, if watch came up, they had to define it. And there was this adorable 4-year-old who got it, just nailed it, just absolutely correct. Said, "What do you think a watch is?" And he goes, "Oh, well, that's when, the weather people tell you to watch the sky." And I thought, yeah, that's exactly it. Pay attention, watch the sky. And I said, "Well, what do you think a warning is?" And he goes, "Well, that, you pay attention, you take action." And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe we ought to work with more children because they got it exactly right. I was just blown away by that. But today, this week, what we're going to do is go through some of the findings from the adult population, the above 18.
I don't know, it looked like the kids were very helpful.
The kids were very helpful. Unfortunately, they cannot take the survey.
Right.
We have a variety of findings. And one of the bigger findings, of course, because of the way that the sampling worked out, it's not too generalizable. But one of the bigger findings is that we had 4 prototypes that we showed, one of which, of course, was the current weather.gov, the way we currently communicate. And then one I call the Botox version. We kind of plumped it up a little bit. The facelift design, if you will. So it was basically the same structure with just a little bit of added detail and some coloring. And then we had 2 others that were entirely different. One that was actually based on our European counterparts, the European meteor alarm system.
Okay.
So we made a US version of that. And then the 4th option was kind of changing the way we think about watches and warnings, so using watches as an unsaturated color, so sort of pale colors, so a pale pink for a watch versus a saturated red for a warning.
Right, okay.
And basically what we found from the weather community was they preferred the new designs that had major change.
All right.
Which I have to admit, I was slightly surprised. I thought, wow, I guess the community...
That is surprising.
Yeah, they want a big change. And so we're going to report out on some of those findings, and now we're kind of thinking, well, where do we go from here? Because a big change requires some big work.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us.
Well, great. Well, I look forward to your presentation. It's very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us again.
We'll keep you posted.
Definitely do that. Thank you.
Thank you.